June 1968. Los Angeles, corner of Wilshire Boulevard and Fairfax Avenue. A 12-year-old blind girl sat on a bench outside a drugstore, singing "Fly Me to the Moon" to nobody in particular. Her voice was pure, untrained, but beautiful. She sang because she loved the song, not because she expected anyone to listen. Then a black Cadillac pulled up to the red light. The driver heard the voice, recognized the song, and Frank Sinatra told his driver to pull over. What happened in the next 20 minutes didn't just change that girl's afternoon, it changed her entire life. This is that story. Her name was Sarah Brennan, 12 years old, born blind, retinopathy of prematurity. The doctors said her optic nerves never developed properly. She'd never seen light, never seen color, never seen her parents' faces. But Sarah could hear, and what she heard, she remembered. Every note, every lyric, every nuance of a song. She had what musicians call perfect pitch, could identify any note just by hearing it, could harmonize with anything. Sarah's parents, Tom and Margaret Brennan, weren't wealthy. Tom drove a bus for the city. Margaret worked part-time at a library. They lived in a small apartment in mid-Wilshire, but they made sure Sarah had music, a record player, albums, whatever they could afford. Sarah's favorite singer was Frank Sinatra. She'd never seen him, of course, had no idea what he looked like, but his voice spoke to her in a way nothing else did. The way he phrased lyrics, the emotion he brought to every song. She'd sit in her room for hours, listening to "Come Fly With Me," "The Way You Look Tonight," "Fly Me to the Moon." She'd memorized every word, and when she was alone, she'd sing along, not performing, just experiencing the music. June 15, 1968. Saturday afternoon. Sarah's mother had taken her shopping. The drugstore on Wilshire and Fairfax. Margaret needed to pick up a prescription. She told Sarah to wait on the bench outside. "I'll be right back, sweetheart." 5 minutes. Sarah sat on the bench, her white cane beside her. And because she was happy, because the sun felt warm on her face, she started singing, "Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars." Her voice carried across the street, clear, sweet. A 12-year-old girl singing a love song, with innocent sincerity. People walked past. A few smiled. Nobody stopped. At 2:47 p.m., a black Cadillac stopped at the red light on Fairfax. The driver, a man named George Jacobs, had worked for Frank Sinatra for 12 years. Frank was in the back seat, reading a script. He'd just finished a recording session, tired, thinking about dinner. Then he heard it. A voice, a girl's voice, singing his arrangement of "Fly Me to the Moon." Frank looked up from the script. "George, you hear that?"
"Yeah, boss?"
"Some kid singing. That's my song." "I know." Frank listened. The light turned green. "Pull over." "What?" "Pull over. I want to hear this." George pulled the Cadillac to the curb, 30 feet from the bench where Sarah sat, still singing, completely unaware a car had stopped. Frank rolled down his window, listened. The girl was on the second verse now. Her phrasing was off in places. She was 12, not a professional. But there was something about her voice, purity, honesty. She wasn't performing, she was feeling. Sarah finished the song, sat there quietly, smiling to herself. Frank opened the car door. "Stay here, George. Boss, we're running late. This won't take long." Frank walked over to the bench. The girl didn't react, didn't turn toward him. That's when he noticed the white cane. She was blind. Frank stood there for a moment, watching her. She was small for 12, dark hair pulled back, sunglasses, simple dress. She looked like any other kid waiting for her mom. "That was beautiful," Frank said. Sarah jumped slightly, turned her head toward his voice. "Oh, thank you. You know who sang that song originally?" "Frank Sinatra. He's my favorite singer." Frank smiled. "Is that right?" "Yes, I have all his records. Well, not all, but a lot. My parents buy them for me when they can. And you just sit out here singing his songs." Sarah nodded. Sometimes, when I'm waiting for my mom, it makes the time go faster. You've got a good voice. You take lessons. No, we can't afford that. I just listen to the records and try to copy what I hear. Frank sat down on the bench beside her. What's your name? Sarah Brennan. How old are you, Sarah? 12. And you've been blind since birth? Sarah nodded. She'd had this conversation before. Strangers asking questions. Usually, she didn't mind. People were curious. I've never seen anything, Sarah said, but I can hear really well. Better than most people, my mom says. I believe it. The way you were singing, you've got great pitch. Perfect pitch, maybe. What's that? It means you can identify any note just by hearing it. Not everyone can do that. Sarah smiled. I can do that. Sometimes, I annoy my dad, because I tell him when the radio is slightly out of tune. Frank laughed. I bet you do. They sat there for a moment. Frank thinking. Sarah waiting for her mother. Sarah, can I ask you something? Okay. If you could do anything with your voice, what would it be? Sarah thought about it. I'd like to really learn how to sing. Not just copying records, but learning the right way. So maybe I could sing for people someday. Make them happy the way Mr. Sinatra's music makes me happy. Frank's throat tightened. That's a good dream. But it's just a dream. Voice lessons cost money, and my parents already do so much for me. What if I told you I could help with that? Sarah tilted her head. What do you mean? What if I knew someone who could teach you? For free, someone really good. Why would they do that? Because you've got something special, and when you have something special, people who understand music want to help you develop it. Sarah was quiet. Are you a music teacher? Frank smiled. Something like that. Just then, Margaret Brennan came out of the drugstore, saw a man sitting next to her daughter. Her protective instincts kicked in. Sarah turned toward her mother's voice. Mom, this nice man says he knows a voice teacher who could help me learn to sing. Margaret walked over quickly, looked at the man. Then recognition hit her like a wave. Frank Sinatra. Her hand went to her mouth. Oh my God. Frank stood up, extended his hand. Mrs. Brennan, I'm Frank Sinatra. I heard your daughter singing, and I wanted to talk to her. Margaret couldn't speak, just shook his hand. Your daughter has an exceptional voice, and I'd like to help her develop it. If you'll let me. Margaret found her voice. Mr. Sinatra, I don't understand. I want to arrange voice lessons for Sarah, with one of the best vocal coaches in Los Angeles, a woman named Helen Strauss. She's trained opera singers, jazz singers, everyone, and she owes me a favor. We can't afford no charge. None. This is a gift, from me to Sarah, because talent like this shouldn't be wasted. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. Why would you do this? Frank looked at Sarah, who was sitting quietly, listening to every word. Because 40 years ago I was a kid in Hoboken with a voice, and no money for lessons. A teacher named Mrs. Goldberg paid for my lessons out of her own pocket. 25 cents a lesson. Changed my life. I've been looking for ways to pay that forward ever since. He turned back to Margaret. Sarah reminds me why I sing. She's not trying to be a star. She's not performing for money or fame. She just loves the music. That's pure. That's rare. And I want to protect that. Margaret was crying now. Mr. Sinatra, I don't know what to say. Say yes. Let me help your daughter. Margaret nodded. Yes, of course. Thank you. Frank pulled out his wallet, took out a business card, wrote on the back, this is Helen Strauss's number. Call her Monday. Tell her I sent you. She'll set up a schedule. He knelt down in front of Sarah. Sarah, I'm going to arrange for you to take voice lessons, real lessons, with a wonderful teacher. You're going to learn technique, breathing, everything. You want to do that? Sarah's face lit up. Really? You're really doing this? Really? But I don't even know your name. Frank smiled. My name is Frank Sinatra. Sarah gasped. The Frank Sinatra, the singer. That's me. You were sitting here the whole time and I didn't know. Nope. Sarah reached out, found Frank's hand, held it. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're welcome, sweetheart. But you have to promise me something. Anything. Don't sing to become famous. Don't sing to impress people. Sing because it makes you happy. Sing because the music matters. That's the only reason that lasts. I promise. Frank stood up, shook Margaret's hand again. She's a special kid. Take care of her. We will. Thank you, Mr. Sinatra. Thank you so much. Frank walked back to his car. George opened the door. Everything okay, boss? Everything's perfect. Sarah Brennan studied with Helen Strauss for 6 years, twice a week, every lesson paid for by Frank Sinatra. Helen said Sarah was the most naturally gifted student she'd ever taught. By age 18, Sarah was performing professionally. Small venues, jazz clubs, concert halls. She never became famous, never wanted to be, but she made a career out of music, recorded 3 albums, toured occasionally, made enough to support herself. She specialized in Sinatra songs. Her interpretations were unique. She'd never seen him perform, so she wasn't imitating his mannerisms. She was interpreting the songs through her own experience, through blindness, through gratitude, through love of the music itself. In 1987, Sarah was performing at a small club in Beverly Hills. After the show, someone came backstage, an older man, alone. Sarah Brennan. She recognized the voice immediately. Mr. Sinatra, I heard you were performing tonight. Wanted to hear what Helen taught you. What did you think? I think you're exactly what music should be. Honest, real, beautiful. They talked for an hour. Frank told her he'd followed her career, proud of what she'd become. I never forgot what you did for me, Sarah said. That day outside the drugstore. You changed my life. You were already talented. I just opened a door, but you didn't have to. I was just a blind girl singing on a bench. You could have driven past, but then I would have missed something beautiful, and that would have been my loss. Frank Sinatra died in 1998. Sarah performed at his memorial service. She sang Fly Me to the Moon, the song he'd heard her singing 30 years earlier, the song that started everything. The audience of celebrities and dignitaries wept, because Sarah's version wasn't about technical perfection, it was about gratitude, love, the bond between an artist and the person who believed in them. After the service, a reporter asked Sarah what Frank meant to her. He gave me more than voice lessons, Sarah said. He gave me permission to be myself, to sing not because I wanted to be like him, but because music made me happy. And he taught me that kindness isn't about grand gestures. It's about stopping your car when you hear something beautiful. It's about taking 20 minutes out of your day to change someone's life. Sarah Brennan is 70 now, still performing occasionally, still singing Sinatra songs. And every time she performs Fly Me to the Moon, she tells the story. This song changed my life, she always says, not because it's famous, but because Frank Sinatra heard a 12-year-old blind girl singing it on a bench and decided she mattered. He stopped his car. He listened. He helped. And that's the greatest gift anyone ever gave me. Not the lessons, but the belief that I was worth stopping for. Frank Sinatra heard a blind girl singing his song. He stopped his car and changed everything. Not with money, not with fame, but with attention, with recognition, with the simple act of seeing value where others saw nothing. Because that's what legends do. They don't just create beauty, they recognize it in others, and they use their power not to elevate themselves, but to lift up the people who need it most.